course, the entry to this competition is free for all the students, for the colleges. What it costs you is your time, your effort. But this is done because we have packaging companies in the country that help to sponsor us, not help to sponsor us, they pay for absolutely everything. Packaging companies, Safripol is a supplier of plastics into the industry. Propak is an exhibitor of packaging machinery and equipment, and they obviously believe in nurturing talent and inspiring people to come into the industry. What's in it for you? We do have prizes. The prestige of it all is a big part of it, but the first overall in the graphic design section, might as well mention now there are different sections of this competition. There's graphic design, industrial design, food science and technology, and packaging technology. Obviously, I'm talking to you as creative people in the graphic design section, and you would be involved in that section of the competition. But each one of them has a trophy and a prize overall. There is the Safripol trophy, Student Gold Pack trophy for the best entry overall. With the trophy, obviously, comes the accolades, the certificate, and a cash prize of 6,000 Rand. Second overall, 3,000 Rand. Third overall, 1.5. But each project, there are 3 briefs in this, and you choose which brief you are going to do. If you are best in your brief, you win a prize as well. Second in the brief, you get a prize. Third in the brief, you get a prize as well. In addition to that, we have other sponsors, which are people involved in the industry. They give us special mention prizes. The judges have special mention prizes. The amount of money allocated to each of those is unknown at this stage. We'll know as the year goes on. But if you think about it, a person who wins, let's say, first overall, has no doubt won best in the project as well, and may well have picked up 1 or 2 of the other prizes. So it's quite conceivable that the top winner might walk away with 9 or 10,000 Rand as the prize. But that's not why you're doing it, is it? You're not doing it for the money. You're doing it for the experience and understanding what packaging is all about. And also, even if you become just a finalist in this project, you get a certificate, which looks very good in your portfolio because you've participated in a packaging project and there's proof of it that you attained a certain standard. And in addition to that, even, we, as the Institute of Packaging, take our finalists, we select most of them, not all of them, but most of them, and we pay for and enter those entries into the World Packaging Organization's global packaging competition. And let me tell you, South Africa, year after year, comes out tops in that competition because, well, our Student Gold Pack competition has been running for many, many years, and we're doing it really well, but also because our South African students are very, very talented, and we compete, as I say, across the world. 27 different countries, I think, participated last year, and we walked away with 42 of the certificates overall. But we'll talk more about that later. Just a bit of, everyone always asks what sort of entries have won. Last year, we had a project called the Packs Empty, What Next? The best in that project was won by a student from the Durban University of Technology for the sellotape dispenser. That was the best in project 1. Best in project 2 was this pack. It was the branding power of packaging. How can packaging add to the branding of a product? That was a student from Eduvos in Bedfordview here in Johannesburg. The best in project 3, which was if my favorite artist designed my favorite product's packaging, was a very interesting project that got some wild entries, but a student from the University of Pretoria won that category. The overall trophies, Karen Reddy, that you saw already from Durban University of Technology, won the gold trophy. The silver award went to the University of Pretoria, and the bronze award went to Eduvos Bedfordview. So you see, coincidentally, best in project 1, 2, and 3 won there, but it's not always the case. Sometimes the best in project one wins the overall trophy, and second in project one could win the silver award. That project was better than the projects in the other one. So it's quite a complicated judging process and hopefully very fair. But as I say, all of these are entered into the World Stars. This particular entry came from the packaging technology section, and overall in the World Star competition, it won the silver award, meaning second in the world. But it also won other awards in that international competition. Walked away with quite a few trophies in that World Stars. In the World Stars as well, anyone who qualifies to a certain global standard will win this global certificate, the World Star Global Packaging Award certificate, which obviously also looks excellent in your portfolio, saying that your packaging project was of an international standard. And as I said, 42 students from South Africa walked away with certificates from there. We do that entry for you. Anyone who qualifies that we believe has a chance in the World Stars, we will enter it on for you. That was just one example of the certificates from last year. In previous years, this was the student who won gold medals in the World Star. We actually flew her to Milan to pick up her award at the main World Stars ceremony. Probably you're aware of the Lurie Awards. There's the main commercial awards like the Lurie Awards, and then there's student awards, which is like our Gold Pack Awards, a student award. The World Stars have the same thing, and at their main award ceremony, they invite the top winner of each year to go to that ceremony to get their prize. This year, the ceremony is in Milan again, coincidentally, and the top winner internationally is from Sweden. And Vanessa will be going there next month. It's May, I think, Vanessa, that you're off to Milan to present the award to the students. It's a team entry from Sweden who won the overall trophy. When was this? 2024, last year. This was a South African winner in the global awards. That particular year, there were 30 finalists from South Africa, and we got 1 bronze medal. As I say, yeah, go for it.
I jump in, Bill? Sorry, just an interesting thing about this Casey Ogilvie. So she won for her entry was a packaging technology entry, but Casey is a design student. She studied at Greenside Design Center in Johannesburg a number of years ago, and was a finalist in Student Gold Pack and visited the ProPack show. Our award ceremony that year was alongside ProPack down in Cape Town. So all the finalists are generally flown from wherever they are at to our award ceremony. And the packaging design bug bit, and yeah, Casey went on to study our 1-year diploma in packaging technology a couple of years later, and this was her packaging project that she entered, and she got a World Star. So she's an ongoing. In fact, we even had her last year as one of our judges. So to just keep that loop going, and we've got a number of students that have actually done that, have followed through, and some lovely case studies of students making it in the packaging industry and packaging design. Thanks, Bill.
No, that's excellent, Bev, and that actually shows you this bit of indoctrination that we try and do with Student Gold Pack works. We actually get to people, and and Vanessa used the term, the packaging bug bit. That's what does happen when you experience what packaging is all about and how exciting and interesting and how challenging packaging design can be. It becomes a bit of a passion, and as it does done with Casey and some other students, and certainly myself when I got involved with packaging design. It's a fascinating field, and always challenging, always changing, always new. And that's what Student Gold Pack is actually all about. The idea of it is all to introduce you, to give you a taste of what packaging is all about, so that you can decide for yourself, is this for you? Is this the type of career? And to give you some real hands-on experiences to what packaging design involves and what the challenges are. And we try and make it as real life as possible. So that's what this presentation is about, going on now. Probably the most important takeout that you want from this part of the presentation, the presentation overall, is what must you do? You're coming into this project and say, what do I do next? So what happens after we finish this presentation? So this is what we're going to go through. All the information that you need, you will find on this website, www.studentgoldpack.org. Note the org.za. So studentgoldpack.org.za. That's the website that you will find all the information that I'm going to talk about, that Vanessa and I will talk about this afternoon, plus more, some tips, some hints, some information, links, contacts of people in the industry that you could use. So there's a lot of information. It's been designed to try and be iPhone and iPad friendly, but of course it works on a desktop as well. And you'll notice there that there are the 4 divisions I talked about: graphic design, packaging technology, food science and technology, and industrial design. Of course, what you are interested in is the graphic design section. That's when you go into the website, you need to click on that graphic design section to make sure that you get into the correct section, which it will remind you when you do go in all the time, saying you are in the graphic design section, and you look for that green block. This is the sort of welcome page. Your navigation is all on the right-hand side. That'll take you into other sub-menus as well, and there's a lot of information there. A quick mention of our Facebook and Instagram sites. We use that for inspiration, trying to share with you things that as they evolve during the year, ideas that have come up, issues, challenges that just make the project a little bit more interesting. But you'll see there's a lot of information there. To find what you need to do from a mechanical point of view, you need to log in. The login, you can get access to the whole website without logging in. You need to log in when you actually put your entry in, when you now going to submit your entry. And that's been designed, this is a note to the lecturers really. It can either be done, each student can submit their own entry and go in and log in and submit the entry, or the lecturers can coordinate the whole project. They register, the lecturer registers, and then enters each student's entry form using the information that the lecturers have. And each college has a different way of doing it. Some insist that the lecturer needs to control the entries, and others say it's a free-for-all. That really is up to the people in your own college to decide. When you first register in there, you obviously need to go to the new user registration. When you log in after that, it's just the easier process, just as a registered login. But the new user registration, we're just looking for your contact details, really, and you need to confirm your email address by putting it in twice. It's amazing how many people enter their own email address incorrectly and say, I haven't had any communication from the website. Well, if you put your email address in incorrectly, we can't contact you. It's almost impossible. So the only check we've got is just ask you to enter your email address twice. Once you've done that, you go in, select your brief, and that's also what this presentation is all about. We're going to go in detail about what the briefs are and to give you some guidance as to what we are looking for in those briefs. So you select your briefs on the website, the project briefs are there, you click on that, you'll see the 3 briefs, and those are hyperlinks into each of the briefs, giving you details about each of the briefs, which we are going to do for you in the next hour and a bit. Is talk about each of these briefs. So once you've chosen your brief, and we're going to emphasize that selecting your brief is probably one of the most important parts of the process, is you create your design proposal. Easier said than done, but boom, you've created your design proposal, you prepare it for entry, and what you will end product that you will have are physical mock-ups and digital presentations, meaning that we're asking you to make a physical rendition, a physical touch and feel mock-up of your packaging proposal, And also we need it digitally. We need photographs of that mock-up or a CGI, computer-generated graphics of what your proposal is. And obviously we're saying we need photographs or digital 3D renderings. Actually, we need both. That's really what it's about. You're also going to need a short written summary. And I cannot emphasize how important this written summary is. We're talking about 50 words. But this is not a teaser. This is not something that you tease about what it is. It's not a repetition of the brief. What this is we're looking for in 50 words, why is your project solution, why is your design, why is your creativity, why is your idea award-winning? What makes it different? What makes it stand out? We know what the brief is. We know what the issues all are. What's different? What's your big idea? What is it that your design proposal is going to do to make it stand out, to make it a winner? And that's that short written summary that you're going to enter online on that entry form, and you only have 50 words to do it. You then can supply additional support motivation, as little or as much as you want. It's really up to you. And it also depends on how your project is handled in your college. We have some examples where the colleges use this as the basis of a much bigger project. They get the students to do point of sale and a whole advertising campaign and PR campaigns and a whole lot of things, and they have to unpack typography issues, and it's amazing how much information. We obviously are focused on what the packaging element is all about, but really we have no objection to you supplying everything, but we'll weed it out and look for the packaging. We want it to be focused, what you submit to us. Focus, remember that when we're judging it for awards, we focused on how did you meet the challenge and how creatively did you meet that challenge. So keep what you submit to us relevant to your concept, really. And then about the mock-up. We get a lot of questions about the challenges that making a physical mock-up has. And we have stuck to this. We experimented with doing away with the mock-up, and it didn't work for us. The mock-up demonstrates how your packaging concept works actually in real life. It tests its practicality, it tests its functionality. There are a lot of challenges in doing it. Very often you cannot even make the mock-up in the correct packaging material, but you have to work around it, make a plan to show us this simulation, this prototype of what your packaging is all about. And then, of course, that's where your computer graphics come in as an assist. You can show your beautiful graphics as electronic artwork, and the mock-up is a bit rough and ready. We understand that. This is the real world. I have a packaging design company. This is exactly what we are faced with, exactly the same challenges as you will be. This is how we present to our clients. No matter how simple our pack is, we do little sachets. Every time we design a sachet, we print it out and we fold it up and we make it up. And I tell you what, how many times my very experienced designers go, oh no, I forgot about the back flap. It covers up the text. That making that physical mock-up, working in 3 dimensions, seeing that packaging is not a flat poster, it's not an ad in a magazine, it's actually a 3-dimensional that may have much more than 5 or 6 or 8 sides to it, because it's got lots of complexities. We understand it's not necessarily going to be in the material, and we also understand that occasionally, very occasionally, it's absolutely not possible to make a physical mock-up. We understand that. When we come to that, we then will accept the fact that we're only going to get computer-generated graphics. But also understand that I and Vanessa work in the real world. We know when a mock-up can be made and when it can't be made. So don't duck out too quickly from that. But at the end of the day, we also understand reality. If it just cannot be done, it cannot be done. And we understand that. And then the online entry form, so you've got your presentation ready, you've prepared your mock-up, you need to go into the online entry form. We collect all the data, the information about each student, and of course there's legalities there as well as to giving us permission to use your design in our competition, not anywhere else. You always own the creativity. You're not handing it over to us. You're just allowing us to use your creativity as a part of our competition. That's an interesting thing. If you haven't come across it at all, in copyright law in South Africa, no matter what you do, you cannot sell your creation. If you've created it, it belongs to you forever. Even if someone gives you money for it, they've given you money to use it, but not to own it. But that's a whole nother legal issue. I have a legal presentation, if you wish. In there, online, you're going to enter your motivation. Those are the 50 words I talked about. There's a box on the entry form online that you enter your text for that. Your entry visuals can be prepared. They can be up to 40 megabytes big, as JPEGs, PSDs, TIFFs, PNGs even. It accepts most file formats, and you just drag and drop them in, or you click and add the pictures that they upload to us so that we can get them and use them for the judging process. So that's just a close-up of that same folder. And then other support, this is the one where I said you can have as much or as little as you want. Same thing, probably PDFs are the best, but we can take any file formats to take whatever other support information, whether they be visuals, they're pictures or text or words or whatever they are, you drop them in there. What happens to the actual mock-up itself? Those we rely on your lecturers to gather from you, and they will courier them to us to get to us by the 25th of August. That's not your deadline. Your lecturers will give you the deadline of when you need to hand in your project. But for your lecturers' benefit, we need everything by the 25th of August, which is when we start the national judging. Just a little note, I've shown a little bit of the bottom of the entry form there. You'll notice you've got save, delete entry, return to entry list if you've got more than one entry. If one person is entering more than one entry, that's where the lecturer is entering more than one student. But you see the stuff in red will tell you what is incomplete on this entry form. So anything that you see in red at the bottom of the entry form means we still need that information before you will be able to save and submit your entry. It means something's missing or something's wrong. Just a quick note. So those are all the mechanics of it all. What we really need to get into today, and how are we doing on time? I'm running over, Vanessa. We must go faster. Because really what we're here to talk about today is packaging. The purpose of our presentation to you is to talk about what is packaging, to introduce packaging as a bit of creativity or the technical side. As I said to you before, it's a combination of both. So we are saying to you, is packaging an art or is it a science? The answer to that is packaging's an art and a science. It needs both. It needs that creativity and it needs the technology. And this is when design students will go, hey, hang on, I'm not here for the technical side of things. I'm not an industrial designer. I'm not a packaging technologist. Well, I've got good news for you. We understand that. We're not expecting you to have the technical abilities of packaging. What we are expecting from you is the creative idea, the vision. The question you should be asking yourself is, when you're dealing with these projects, is, wouldn't it be great if packaging could do this? If I could have a pack that did this, if my pack could open like this or close like this or stand like this, wouldn't it be great? So show us how you think it should look like from a vision, mythical, hypothetical point of view. We don't worry. We know you're a graphic design student. We don't expect you to solve the science of it. We've got people for that. We've got packaging technologists. We have industrial designers. Those are the other disciplines, and they've got challenges of their own. We're looking from you, the creativity, the ideas, the vision, what could happen with it. And in order to challenge that, you need to have an understanding of what packaging is all about. And this information is available on the website, on the Student Goldpack website, the 11 secret powers of packaging. And it's just so that you can run through it as a checklist for yourself to say, am I designing packaging or am I designing a product? Because it's very often that we have that people think this is a product design competition. It's not. It's the packaging of that product that we're asking you to design. We're not asking you to design a product. You've got to take a product or imagine a product and package it. The packaging is what we're looking for you to do. And this 11 secret powers of packaging is a bit of a checklist to say, is this packaging or is it a product? And as I say, these 11 ideas are on the website for you as a checklist. And importantly, packaging contains, it protects, it preserves, it enables portions. Those are the physical functions of packaging. And if you find that you're designing something that is a great cup of coffee, that's not what it's about. It's the packaging of that coffee that we are interested in, not you've come up with a new flavor of coffee. You can tell us you've got a new flavor of coffee, but that's about as much as you need to tell us about it. We want to know about the packaging of it. And the projects that we've set this year, the 3 briefs that we have, actually focus in on a few of these, not all of them, just a few of them. And these are the ones that we will be unpacking today. Looking at each one of these, as I say, all of these are important in the realm of what makes a pack. But we're just going to pick out these, what's it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, and just expand what do I mean about these things, because they're relevant to the briefs that we're going to talk about very shortly, that we'll get into. So the first one is all about packaging enables portions. And really what I'm saying is, imagine now you go in to buy sugar from a store and you don't have any packaging. What are you going to do? You're going to go along and ask for a handful of sugar. So you want sugar to be packed into something. And the size of that pack allows you to put sugar into different, it can be a 1 teaspoon pack, or it can be a 5 kilogram pack. The packaging allows you to sell sugar in different sizes. A lovely little story is we were asked to design a promotional pack for Nescafe in West Africa. And they told us all about the promotion, what the promotion, how you could win a car. And it was really a fantastic promotion. They said, come with the pack design of what this promotion is going to look like. And we took the Nescafe jar and we put a flash on it with a picture of a car, and we sent it off to West Africa saying, here's our promotional pack design. And they said, what's that? We said, that's a jar of Nescafe. They said, no, we don't. No. We don't sell Nescafe in jars like that. We sell it in little sachets. There are 12 teaspoons of Nescafe in a pack. That's our main SKU, selling consumer unit. That's how people in West Africa buy coffee in a sachet. They only buy a day's worth of coffee for that household. Each day they will buy coffee for the next 24 hours. And they average go through 12 teaspoons of coffee a day. So they won't buy a jar of coffee, they buy a sachet of coffee. And we had to rethink it all and come out with a sachet of 12 teaspoons of coffee. And for different cultures, different markets, there are different ways of packaging in the pack size. And this is an American one that I actually don't really believe, that Snickers comes 2 bars in a pack. You can eat 1 bar, you twist it close, it has a memory. Cadbury's did it here locally with a cold seal. It reseals it, so you eat 1 bar, seal it off, and you save the next bar for later. Why I doubt this so much is because if you look at how fat Americans are, I don't believe they eat half a Snickers and then save the rest for later. I'm convinced they eat the whole thing. But anyway, that's a pack of Snickers. So those are the portions. I think it's sort of self-explanatory, allows that. But what's very interesting for us as packaging designers, packaging communicates, it educates, it informs, and right throughout the supply chain. Let me talk about what the supply chain is. We talk about that in the industry, the supply chain, a lot, and that's the life cycle or the life chain of packaging, from the creation, from a piece of paper or board, how it gets made up into a box, printed flat, how the box gets erected, how maybe the cereal is put inside, it's filled, it's sealed, it goes into the warehouse, it then goes to a retailer into the back storeroom, onto the retailer's shelf as a box of cereal, into the consumer's trolley or basket, through the checkout counter, into a shopping bag, home on a taxi or in the car, into the kitchen, into the pantry. Does it come onto the table? Open it up. And when it's empty, where does it go to? That pack then goes, into the dustbin. Hopefully not. It goes into a recycling bin. What happens to that piece of packaging once it's in recycling? Where does it go to? So I'm following that piece of packaging right from when it was just a piece of board right through to when hopefully it's recycled into some more board. That's called the supply chain. That's following the packaging all the way through. And what's interesting for us as designers is that packaging has a job of communicating, educating, and informing all the way through that life cycle, all the way through that chain, from when it's erected, how it's stored. A shipper carton, we need to tell people how many stacks of shippers they can put onto a pallet in the warehouse, how high it can go. So in the warehouse, we're communicating to it. On a supermarket shelf, we're telling the retailer what's the product code, what is this product, what's its variant. They need to know that. Through the till, it has a barcode. It has to communicate with the cashier. In the home, it's got to tell you what's happening sometimes, how full, how empty is the pack. And then how do I dispose of it? Where do I throw it into the rubbish bin? So all the way through, it's communicating, it's educating, it's informing through the supply chain. Back to our Nescafe example that we did the promotion. This is the challenge. In a very small little sachet, we ran this promotion, but it still had to talk about how do you make a cup of coffee. It still had to have a barcode. It had to have the legal information on there. It had to have the disposal information. It even has a halal symbol on there. A lot of communication on this little pack. It's for throughout the supply chain. And notice it's all within a style of branding, because we understand we're facing a consumer as well. So Nescafe has its own style. Even the back panel of a Nescafe pack, they're very rigid design constraints and styles to show how Nescafe is presented on the back pack. So every part of a pack is an opportunity to communicate. You must take that opportunity and explore it to make your back panel, to expand your communication and to expand your product's benefits and to expand your branding as much as you can. That's what the creative packaging designer is looking for, ways of doing this and interacting with the consumer in such a way that the consumer wants to be a part of your product, wants to be a part of your pack, and will look for ways of actually linking with you again. We're wanting to make a connection with that consumer. That's about educating, informing the consumer. But packaging also has the job of transporting and delivering products throughout the supply chain. This is about protecting the product. And very often when we have to protect a product, we end up with materials that are a nightmare. Paper packaging, that egg cartons come out, that the compressed fibers of paper are terrible. It's like printing on blotting paper. But in the hands of a good designer who understands print, who understands typography, who understands color and inks, using the right inks, using the right typography, can turn what could be a horrible egg carton, looking terrible, into something quite modern and slick, not only in the printing, but in the design and shape of the egg carton. And packaging design is about 3 dimensions. And this project was all about, actually, when Unilever brought out their ergonomical shaped deodorant bottle, they were very top heavy because of the big ball, and they fell over. So very clever packaging technologist worked out this vac form tray that they could fit into to hold them tight, that they wouldn't fall over throughout the supply chain, from production, in transport, and on the supermarket shelf. The problem here is that actually when you pulled them out, they stuck into that vac form tray, and they also carried on falling over. And another packaging technologist just worked out and created a little bubble in the base of the pack, so that when that deodorant bottle was pulled out, it just slipped out nice and neatly. So those little things about how packaging works throughout the supply chain, from the idea of being ergonomic and having a small handle with a big bulb at the top, created other problems, but there were technologists behind the scenes to actually go and solve the problem. Another one that may come into your projects is this thing, we call it retail ready packaging, where the shipper carton becomes onto the shelf where you can just cut open the shipper carton and put the entire pack onto the shelf, and it becomes a piece of point of sale material. Vanessa and I came across the store in Düsseldorf when we were there at some packaging conference, where actually every single pack was packed into a shipper tray that became retail ready. They didn't pack items one by one on the shelf. They packed the whole carton. And it's something we don't see a lot of in South Africa, but I think we're going to see more and more and more of it. And one of the projects that we're talking about today is an ideal opportunity for this sort of display material, where the carton that the products come in also go on shelf and make a bit of a display unit. So the next magic power of packaging, it enables modern living and convenient use. This is packaging, making accessible packaging. A very great example was Heinz tomato ketchup, which is a huge product in the States, sold a lot in a glass bottle, and they turned it into a plastic squeezable tottle, meaning an upside down bottle that you can squeeze the tomato sauce out. Tomato sauce infamously thick and battle to get the tomato sauce out of your bottle, whereas now they turned it upside down without having to change the product formulation, and you squeeze the bottle and it squirts some tomato sauce out. With just that packaging change, increased sales by nearly 25% in the States. No advertising, no promotion, just making the packaging a little bit more consumer facing, understanding what the consumer needed from the packaging. There are lots of little examples, and even on an industrial or a household product, that little things that make life easier and makes the pack work and understand the consumer a little bit more, makes life easier for the consumer, and the consumer relate to a certain type of packaging. And we constantly and consistently looking for things that the way packaging is designed is actually works for the consumer and makes life easier and life more convenient for the consumer. As I said at the beginning, we're not expecting you to be packaging technologists or industrial designers, but certainly if you have the idea, you think, wouldn't it be great if packaging did this? This is the opportunity. This is where, wouldn't it be great if the packaging understood the consumer better and did this for the consumer? Interesting one is in sugar. Sugar is hygroscopic. It attracts water. So when you open a bag of sugar, of course, particularly if you're living at the coast, it's going to attract water and become lumpy. So this whole idea of a Ziploc to seal the bag of sugar would be a fantastic idea. Wouldn't it be great? How come we don't see more Ziplocs on sugar? Interestingly, the cost involved in putting a Ziploc on a bag of sugar makes that sugar cost go up so much that people would lose market share. So the sugar people are finding that that's not worthwhile. People are used to decanting or repackaging their sugar into another container where need is, like at the coast. So this idea of a Ziploc bag of sugar, unless it's very premium priced, it just doesn't cut it. So there's a cost implication always to understand that it's called a value analysis. Am I adding real value to the consumer with this idea, or is the cost prohibitive? Understanding the consumer, this is Milo in West Africa, where they don't have access to fresh milk. So the idea there was to pack Milo with milk powder, and you can just mix it with water, making it much more convenient and getting Milo into a much wider target market, to getting Milo into people's kitchens and homes that wouldn't normally have access to it because they don't have access to the fresh milk. So gave it to them, and packaging facilitated it by allowing the combination of the products. And then probably the most exciting of all is this packaging motivates purchase and use. Really, this is what got me into packaging design, and what the real backbone of packaging is all about, is selling the packaging, making sure that people understand that this product, or not make that they understand, but indicating when a product is probably aimed at the correct target market, that the product has the features and the benefits that that target market needs and wants. And packaging is your communicator on shelf at that point of purchase, at the very time someone's going to buy a product, is saying, yes, this is for you. This is the product that you must have. And I'm just going to go through a bit of the academic side behind how that communication and that decision-making at the point of purchase, how that works. And I need to just pay homage to David Ogilvy, a doyen of advertising, who loved skills development, loved sharing his ideas and concepts with his staff and anybody else who would listen for that matter. And one of the things he always used to say, I'm telling you all these things, but don't treat them as rules. Use them as tools, use them as their weapons, use them as something that actually adds to your power of what you are doing. Because if you see them as rules, they're restrictive. They don't allow you to do anything. For instance, you can't play soccer without knowing what the rules are all about. But you'll see that the top soccer players are always pushing the rules to the absolute boundary. They're pushing as far as they can. So within those constraints, they're trying to do as much as they possibly can. So as designers, we also need to use our understanding of what the rules of creativity are all about to do as much as we possibly can. And we talk about these rules for packaging, or the guidelines for packaging, as purchase triggers. What are going to be the triggers that actually make us want to buy a product? And they can be separated into 3 categories: brand triggers, target triggers, and product triggers. But honestly, it's very difficult to understand what this is all about. Brand, target, product, it becomes inaccessible. It's not really understandable. Another way of looking at it is to say, who is selling what to whom? The brand is the who, the what is the product, and the to whom is the target market, is the person who you're wanting it to buy. So when you're evaluating creativity, if you look at any pack, and I mean absolutely any pack, and you ask yourself the question, who's selling what to whom? What's the brand, what's the product, and who's the target market? You get a much better understanding of the creativity that went behind that design. Who's selling what to whom? And these are a blend. This is not, it's not one or the other. Maybe you might look at Coca-Cola and say, that's all about the what? It's all about the brand. Well, that's true. They've had many, 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 many years of telling you what Coca-Cola is all about and who Coca-Cola is for. They spend a fortune, millions of US dollars on promoting Coca-Cola. So their packaging is all about the branding. They can afford to do that, but not everybody can. Normally, a pack will be a blend of who is selling what to whom. And this blend is a matrix. It's different. A playground toy that you see here, you've probably never seen one in a playground, but from my youth, this was called the witch's hat. And we used to play on this and fall off it and break our teeth and our arms and whatever. So they've probably been outlawed everywhere because they've been unsafe. But this, who's selling what to whom, the brand, the product, the target, is a bit of a blend of this. They're all there on your pack in a different way. But if you want something to stand out, you change its color. You make it in red, and your eye will pick up that red because everybody else is not in red. And if you want to make something else stand out, you put an imbalance. You make instead of the witch's hat just turning around, you put something out of balance with it. So now it's turning around out of order, or you flag yourself somehow. And that's how you actually draw attention to yourself. So you have the communication there, but you need to understand the communication hierarchy. What do you want to see first? What do you want to see second? What do you want to see third? In packaging, don't even try and do the fourth. You haven't got the time or the space in any pack really to talk more than that. But understanding the hierarchy and how you're communicating with people, this witch's hat is a good way of thinking about it. So we talk about the who's selling what to whom. The brand is the who. So the brand is the personality. Imagine your product is a person. What sort of personality do they have? Who are they? What do they look like? How old are they? They're male, they're female. There's the brand, the typography, the logo will give you a hint of what it's all about. And how difficult is this to do? You think, sure, making a personality out of a logo type. But here's a little exercise that can take you through it. Imagine you're on a farm road, you're out in the country, and you see the sign on the side of the road, and you look at it. And normally when I'm in person with you, I'd ask you to answer these questions. So just think for yourself, if I was standing in front of you, how would you answer it? I'm going to stop. I'm driving past. I see the sign. I turn. I stop at the side of the road. What do I expect to see there? I'm going to see a farm stall. I'm not expecting to see a big Woolworths or a ShopRite. This will be a farm stall. I walk into the farm stall. What am I going to expect to see inside there? Not glass-covered refrigerators, or probably a table, wooden tables or shelves, maybe some cardboard boxes or baskets with straw in them, with some loose eggs. Maybe a couple of the eggs are packed into a cardboard carton, but they may be loose, and you pick out how many eggs you want, put them in a paper packet, and walk out. Fresh eggs. These eggs displayed in the basket might have chicken feathers or a bit of whatever else the chicken does in this basket as well, because they've come straight from the farm. That sign has led you in, that typography has led you into that vision. That's not a Woolworths in a plastic carton that's been radiated and never touched chickens. No, I won't say what, but it's absolutely perfect fresh. So some people, I'll say to you, who's going to go and buy those eggs from this farm stall? Some people are horrified because of the unhealthy, terrible, it's got chicken stuff on it, okay? Because they will go and buy from Woolworths. Other people say, I love the organic nature of it. I love the fact that these are fresh eggs and they're straight from the farm and they're real. How did we get to those sort of visions from just looking at this picture that you're looking at right now, with so-called hand lettering, the wooden plank, the wooden tree, the green grass in the back? These are all signals that a designer can use to take you down a certain path. And this is what logo design is all about, is to find the right signals that take you down or make a certain thought process possible. It gives you an expectation. So when you're using your typography to design a logo, you're also using that typography to create an expectation as to what the background to that particular product is. So if you saw a hair salon that looked like that, what might be your reaction? You're going to think, oof, if they can't do a sign like that, how good are they going to be at cutting hair? They don't look particularly professional, okay? And you probably be a bit cynical about going to have your hair cut there. However, you will see many, many examples of barbershops or hair salons or beauty salons in lower income areas where that do very well. How are they doing well? Because the expectation here is that it's not going to cost you a lot of money, that you can actually go and get your hair cut at this particular hair salon, and it's not going to cost you. So cost price is more important than professionalism. If that sign was very, very slick, with neon lighting and looked very beautiful and zhuzh, you go, oh, they're too expensive for me, I'm not going to go there. But because that way it's presented like that, that's going to be cost effective, to be polite. It's not going to cost you a lot of money. So in actual fact, what's apparently bad design could also work for you in that it's giving you a price quality level. Obviously, when I'm looking for these things, I Google and look for things, and I found this particular sign, and I was dying to use it because I thought it's quite fun looking at it there. And then I thought, actually, there is a story to be told here, because there are two signs there. There's Jones's Painting and Improvements, and there's Barber John's, and they somehow look related. So is Jones and Johns, are they brothers? Or is it the same guy that when he's not cutting hair, he's painting, or when the painter's not painting, he can cut hair? Are they the same people? And it made me think the real life world is like that as well. Imagine now I go along and I design Bill's fresh orange juice. And I'm a good packaging designer, so I designed this beautiful pack that looks beautiful, fresh orange juice. And Bill's fresh orange juice is on the supermarket shelf. And there it stands proudly looking beautiful. And along comes Tom. And Tom's fresh orange juice says, preservative free, no preservatives. And he positions his pack right next to mine. And someone comes along and says, oh, Tom's got no preservatives, but Bill's, not saying anything about it. Tom has now repositioned me. He's put doubt in your mind about who I am, that the environment, the place your product is sold, who's your competitor, the shelf that you're on, the environment that you are in could affect what people think about your product. I'm sure many of you have bought stuff on Takealot, and you always compare. And the same product, side by side, you'll look at the two, and you'll read the one and read the other and say, well, maybe that one doesn't have the feature that the other one talks about. The communication, what you've decided is important. Understanding your consumer is very important because your competitor can reposition you. So now I'm going to ask you for probably what is the most well-known brand logo ever of all time. And we've talked about it already today. And here it is. And of course, that's not Coca-Cola, but it's called the brand parody. And what's important about the brand parody, in order to make a joke about this, the person who made the joke had to understand the identifiers for Coca-Cola, the fact that that Spencerian script of the word Coca-Cola, using it for cocaine, the red color, and interesting enough, even the circle, but that's a long story as well, made it look immediately recognizable as a parody, as a playoff on the Coca-Cola brand, because Coca-Cola is one of the most long-standing brands, most successful brands in the world that the world has ever seen. Been around for, gosh, more than 135 years. It's knocking on 150 years now that this Coca-Cola logo has been virtually unchanged for that many years. And so therefore, the person who designed Coca-Cola must be one of the greatest pack designers, must be one of the most creative graphic artists the world's ever seen. The bad news is that the person who designed the Coca-Cola logo actually was an accountant. In those days, when the Pembrey brothers first set up their business, accountants never had computers, typewriters, anything else. They wrote up the books with a dipping pen and wrote the books, and used to have to study calligraphy, typography at university in order to have a good handwriting, so that when they wrote up the accounts, they were legible, and they had this fancy script that they were able to write. And at the top of the ledger for this product that they had created, that they called Coca-Cola, he wrote in Spencerian script the heading to the ledger, this Coca-Cola, with a hyphen in between, with the little swirls underneath. You can even see, if you know about how calligraphy works in a calligraphy pen, you can see where the pen is lifted off the paper. And they looked at this, the Pembrey brothers looked and said, gee, that's quite a nice icon. We could use that as an identifier, as a pictogram for our brand. And they started using it from the very early days when Coca-Cola was medicinal. It was really sold in pharmacies, in drugstores, and that may ring a bell with American culture. They sold Coca-Cola as a medicinal revitalizer, and all the legends had it that it obviously, even in those days, had cocaine in it. But this particular bottle was released in 1880, and it was the first publicly sold bottle of Coca-Cola, and was reputed to have 3.5 grams of cocaine in it in those days. Very soon, Coca-Cola evolved into what we know today as the Coca-Cola can, the Coca-Cola bottle and can, and the red color and the script, to become instantly recognizable. But after 140 years, Coca-Cola started to doubt themselves. And they were being given a hard time by Pepsi, particularly in America, where Pepsi was chasing on them. And sometimes Pepsi was even outselling Coca-Cola in America. And Coke decided that they'd do some investigation to find out where should Coca-Cola be from a logo point of view. Remember, we're still talking about the brand, who is here. From a logo point of view, where should Coca-Cola be? So they did a whole lot of, they put pictures out to design agencies. They asked everybody to please come along, tell us what should Coca-Cola look like today in this new millennial. What should it do? They got hundreds of entries. They whittled it down to 6 or 7. They did research. They spent $8 million on researching it. And eventually they came out with what Coca-Cola should look like today. What should the new Coca-Cola look like? And I'm going to show you what was the result of all that time and all the research. This is what came out. This is the new Coca-Cola design for this century, for now. This is what came out of the research. And the design world looked at this. They could hardly believe their eyes that this is what all the researchers after 100 years, this is what the Coke pack design should be. And the designers around the world went, hallelujah, at last someone understands. It's not about computer effects. It's not about computer gimmicks. It's about the craftsmanship of a human being being able to use calligraphy, the typography, and put it beautifully and bond it together and create it in such a perfect way to be this recognizable icon, that it's that human element that's created it. Yes, we have computer-generated graphics and computer-generated typefaces, but it's understanding them and manipulating them and getting them to work for us that makes it such a strong graphic. And Coca-Cola understands this to this day, and they use it through different pack formats and different identities and in different ways, and still is ultimately recognizable. So these rules are not restrictive at all. They're tools for us to expand what we're doing. Within one category, we have one health category here. There are very many different ways of expressing it, each one with its own benefits, each one giving it its own character and its own direction and its own opportunities. It's not always easy just to take a particular logo and expand it over different fields. Jay's Fluid is an iconic historic brand for South Africa. And it was the Jay's Fluid on the right-hand side is what many people grew up with, and how drains were cleaned and kitchen floors were cleaned. And it was known as this very strong household cleaner. So when Jay's expanded into a Handy Andy type, the next one on the right, it worked because it was very strong, very powerful, considered this very strength, high cleaning action. Even went into the toilets with HomeGuard and still carried those same credentials. And at that stage, the brand owners of Jay's thought, we can do no wrong. Whatever we launch with Jay's, it's got the strong cleaning action, and the housewives love it, and the people love it. And they took Jay's into carpet cleaners, and that was a dead fail. Because who on earth is going to put Jay's Fluid onto your carpets? Now, I promise you that carpet formulation, that carpet cleaner formulation was brilliant, fantastic, a really good carpet cleaner. But the concept of linking it to the Jay's brand was just a bridge too far, was just that step too far. How can you call this carpet cleaner Jay's when Jay's is known for being this hard, aggressive cleaning action? And I'm not going to put this on my delicate, expensive carpets. And I'm not going to do it, no matter what you tell me, how clever your formulation is. So the brand power is incredible. Once you've got that brand and you've got an identity for your brand, you can carry it to many places, but sometimes you can't. So we're talking about how do you go about designing a brand. So here I just took 4 letters, took any color, any font, just at random, and did it. So just think to yourself for a moment, what sort of product could this be? These 4 letters. Is it a cosmetic? Is it a confectionery product? Are they biscuits? Or is it, I don't know, a piece of jewelry? It could be anything. So I'm just asking you to think what sort of, in that product, what could it be in your mind? So think about that for a moment, about what is this product that logo is referring to. And then I give you a new logo for that same product. How has it changed the product? It's given that product a different feel. It's given, for a different audience, the two different executions here. It shows you how font and color can represent different things and give you an expectation and open up doors and open up the possibility of a story for the brand that's different from font to font, from color to color, the way things are presented. So that logo design is all important. So, of course, you get some academic who's going to come along and try and define what do colors mean. So I picked this out of a textbook. These are the different colors. This is what they mean. So red is brutal, dangerous, hot, stop. Yeah, by that. Black is serious, heavy, and death. Linked to that. Okay, there we go. So can you just apply that? Well, I found another book, another textbook that said this rather. So red is passion, love, and anger, which is quite different from the other red, but not wrong. And black is mystery, elegance, and evil. I mean, wow, hey? Very, very different interpretations, but not wrong. So how do we as designers do this? We need to understand the environment we're working in. We need to understand who our target market is and understand that the target market, the person we're trying to sell to, may have different values at different times of the day, different days of the week, and in different environments. We need to understand how that product relates to them in their own life and what do different things mean at different times, and try and strike a chord with them and link into that. To understand the power of design, we need to understand the tools that we're using, but they're not always the same. They change from time to time, person to person, situation to situation. We need to understand and have sensitivity. So another piece of logo design. So what does this make you think of? Well, many of you will be no doubt saying Apple. Those of you who have got proper educations know that actually it's a pear. So why do we say it's an apple? Well, it's all because of that little leaf at the top, and the bite out of the side of it is very iconic. That was used by Apple for many years and still used by them, those shapes. This particular one was when the launch of Apple Macintosh, and those are the bands of color. But they've been using the shape and the leaf and the bite out. If I were to take a man's face and put a leaf out the top of his head and take a bite out of his size, it would also be recognizable as the Apple logo, making a very memorable brand identity. And that's what we're trying to do with our brand, with our logo design. So in our communication, the branding is very important. The whole get-up extends from the logo to all the other elements, the colors and the shapes and the forms that we're using on the pack. So believe it or not, we're still talking about these purchase triggers. Who is selling what to whom? Does the product trigger the what? And I mean, really, you have to be quite sort of, I don't know, what's the word, doff, if you don't know what the product is. Or do you? Here are three examples of products. So they're very good packaging designs, but is the product category clear? What are these products? What's that one on the left? What's the one in the middle? What's the one on the right? So the one on the right, if I were to go and buy that product and put it into my kitchen cupboard, and my son was to go and grab it, what would he do with it? He would probably drink it. And what would I need to do? I'd need to take him to hospital, because in actual fact, this is a household cleaner. This is a cleaning product that you clean floors with and clean walls and clean toilets with. But on shelf, when you put this next to Handy Andy or any of the others, that power that I was talking about before, this is a fabulous product. Pretty colors, it's got a rainbow, it's got fruits in it, meaning it's going to smell nicely. But if you look very, very carefully, very clearly, it's got a little picture of a floor at the bottom there. That witch's hat that I talked about, the communication is completely messed up here, the communication. They're not thinking throughout the supply chain. It works on shelf, on the supermarket shelf. When it's sitting next to Handy Andy, it's very competitive. Take it into the home, and frankly, it's a bit of a dangerous product. And this one here, I love the graphics here. It's very earthy, wholesome, and good. It looks like this could be a nice, healthy product. Is it flour, or what's it all about? I'm going to show you another product that's exactly the same, designed by a different designer for a different brand, that's targeted exactly the same way as this one. actually the one on the left is dog food. Again, the hierarchy is all wrong. If you look very closely, you probably can't see it on your screens. The only reference to animals down the bottom, it says dog formula or dog food down the bottom. Whereas the Hills one has the silhouette of a dog. And of course, we know the Hills brand, but even without that, you can identify this as dog food. The way they've communicated their nutrition is through the scientific little graphics in their pack. The other way has been done with very organic and what I think are really good graphics. The one on the left could have done itself a huge favor if it took a silhouette of a dog and put it behind that Earth logo. Just getting the hierarchy right. Think about that witch's hat again, about getting the product communication right. What you want to see first? What do you want to see second? These are all real life products. And this is a real life example from Kraft, very well known. They launched this product without much success. Because if you look at it, I'm asking you to tell me, what is it? What on earth is it? If you look at it and you see, okay, recipe makers make something, 2 cooking sauces in a recipe. That gives you a hint. Sweet and sour chicken. Well, even I know that sweet and sour chicken is one flavor. It's not sweet and a separate flavor sour. So that's a sweet and sour is a flavor. Then it says just add chicken, rice, vegetables, and pineapples. Well, if I've got all of those, what do I need this stuff for? You really have to look at it. What's in that pan? I don't know. Is it pasta? Is it, I don't know. Are they pieces of chicken? It's very confusing as to what this is all about. When you open the pack, actually, there's a simmering sauce and a sauce that you pour it on at the table. There's one that you mix, you make the product with, and then you've got another sauce that you put at the table. I bet you if I gave you this as the project, if this was one of your briefs, you'd be able to do a better job than this, which shows you there's hope for all of us. Someone got paid to do that design. Well, there's hope for all of us. So what am I saying? Am I saying this is what PAC should look like? Just call it what it is. When Heinz tried to enter the South African market, this is what their pack looked like, and they were not successful. They hit a brick wall, and that brick wall was Koo. And that's because we have a certain category identifier in this country, in canned vegetables, canned fruit and canned vegetables. In that, almost 50% of our packs show the actual product inside. Now, this is not about literacy, because it goes across all income groups, all education groups. We all expect our canned vegetables to have a certain type of a get-up. The pack designs are very different. Their logos are very different. Their positioning, their identities, their value systems are different. But there's a core architecture that we expect to follow. And that's this 50% type of idea. And Heinz recently have done this in our local market. Obviously, they're realizing that they need to show their product, and I think they will make some good headway. They've got plenty of muscle behind them, and they'll carry on. But they certainly are hitting a brick wall in terms of breaking into this product category whilst keeping their international brand design. Then I'll ask you, again, we're talking about the product here. What are we selling? Remember, I had the who's selling what to whom, and we're talking about the what, identifying what the product is. And I'm sure you're all familiar with this, and if I ask you what it is, you're going to tell me it's coffee. But in actual fact, what Rick Coffee is made from primarily is this, chicory. But that's not what you talk about on pack, because we're wanting Rick Coffee to remind us of coffee. Even the Nescafe branding, the idea is that Rick Coffee is our entry-level coffee, that when we don't have a lot of money as poor, impoverished design students, we can afford to buy coffee as Rick Coffee, even if it is primarily made of chicory, but it tastes like coffee. It tastes really good. And then when we go and get jobs out in the world, we can afford to drink Nescafe. And then when we become the creative director in the agency, we drink Nescafe Gold. And then eventually when we own the studio, we buy an espresso machine that makes fresh ground coffee. So that's the journey that Nescafe is hoping to take us on, taking us from the beginning, from this product that's actually made of chicory, but selling all the credentials of what coffee are all about. I'm showing you this pack here. This legislation in South Africa has changed now. If you notice on the front there, it says chicory and coffee granules, whereas when I go back to this one here, you don't see the word chicory on that pack at all. legislation in South Africa is making packaging designers much more honest about what it is. There is coffee in the product, but not as much as there is chicory. Okay, Vanessa, sorry, I must move on, yeah? Okay, who's selling what to who? One of the most interesting ones is the to whom, the target triggers. This requires an insight into the consumer. You need to have an understanding of your target audience. And Unilever are pretty good at this. In their Dove, they had a campaign in the UK where they actually had special promotional packaging to talk about that perfect body, that you're beautiful no matter what shape or size you come in. This is an ad that came along with that.
It's time now to bring out the pretty people. And I double dare you to find them prettier than these ladies here.
They used their packaging to actually enhance their brand positioning, which was about beauty comes in all shapes and sizes. The successful limited edition project, they actually sold those packs on shelf. Just talking about different insights into consumers, the same person can have different values and different expectations. When I go into a hardware store to buy a drill, I'm not a handyman at all. I go in and I look for a drill. This drill costs something like 340 Rand, but look at the amount of information on the pack, because I don't know what on earth I'm talking about. I have no relationship with these tools at all. It's got to tell me exactly what each bit is for and whether this is the tool that I need to do the job that I want. And even there's a QR code at the top that takes me to a website to reinforce what I need this particular tool for, and am I buying the right one? Lots of communication on the back, because that's what the consumer or the purchaser needs at the point of purchase when they buy this for 340 Rand. And that's me. I go into the hardware store. I need this information because I've never bought a drill in my life. I'm going to buy this. I'm going to hang a picture in the afternoon and probably leave that drill in the cupboard forever after. Then I go next door to the iStore and I buy an iMac. And I know exactly what I want. I interact with iMacs all the time. I understand what they are. And I just know that I plug it in and it works. And this is what an iMac is to me. I'll go in there and spend 45,000 Rand on an iMac and walk out with this box. The information I know, I interact with it all the time. I don't expect anything else. I want beauty. I want good design. And I want that clarity for that. Apple fans don't need to know the technical specs, just that it's cool. Okay, that's really what it's all about. A PC person, on the other hand, needs to know all the tech specs. So I'm a Mac person. I don't want to know, and in fact, I don't understand the specs of it all. But a PC person who wants to know exactly how many megahertz and how much power and what it does, they need all that specs, and you'll see on a PC packaging all that detail come out of it. So much so that there's been jokes made about the differences between a Mac person and a PC person. And I've got a fun little parody video here to show you about it.
Hello, I'm a Mac.
And I'm a PC.
You know, one of the cool things about me is that not only are Apple products amazing, but they're a lot of fun to open.
What?
Yeah, we have amazing packaging.
Packaging.
Yeah, did you know that there are literally hundreds of thousands of videos and photos on the internet dedicated to documenting the experience of taking an Apple product out of its box?
You're kidding me.
Yes, no, because we at Apple want to make sure every moment of owning one of our products is incredible, even unboxing it.
Seriously, this is what we're talking about today.
Take the iPhone, for example. I mean, look at this box. Isn't it sexy? You barely want to open it, do you?
I kinda don't care.
And we have this guy. His title is Vice President of Packaging.
That doesn't surprise me in the
so
least.
you look here and you get the iPhone nestled in there, all gorgeous like.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Are we done yet?
No, because that's not even the best part. Because we want to make it easy for you to get started using your iPhone. So we've included this handy little booklet of fingering tips.
That's not what it says.
I don't know, I don't read, but with this handy little guide, you'll be fingering all sorts of things.
Oh my god, that sounded even dirtier.
You are just jealous that you don't have a little box you can finger.
Oh my god, seriously?
Where are you going? Oh, see, hey, you already know a finger gesture. That's good, I think. I don't know what it means. What application that opens. I like it. Simple. Elegant. Like my box of fingering tips. Oh, fingertips! That makes more sense. Kind of.
The bit I like in that presentation or that video was where he says, I don't know, I don't read. It's worth thinking about that when you're doing your pack design, that many consumers are not going to read your packaging at all. They're going to look at it and get an idea. So do you make a connection with your audience? So if you're wanting to sell a waterproof watch, what better way than to sell it in a pouch full of water to prove that it's waterproof? There are visual clues that you can use, a slender can to talk about the dieting benefits of your cool drink, the indulgent swirls of ice cream on the ice cream packaging visual, the flowers in a fabric softener to talk about the fragrance of it all. Lots of signals that you can make a connection and understand with your target audience to motivate that purchase and use. And then the final one that we're going to talk about before we move on to the briefs is how packaging merchandises at the point of purchase. And this is the reality. This is what you very often face with the supermarket shelf. How do you stand out? How do you make an impression? The laundry people know. They shout at you. They take their logos and they make them as big as possible. But that's not the only way. There are subtler ways to engage with your audience, to make a connection. Here, each nougat bar is filled with marvelous illustrations. When the bars are placed side by side, they form like a complete panorama. It reflects here the Sicilian countryside and the rich natural ingredients used in each bar. It's a visual personification of the mix of cultures, art, and cuisines of Sicily and its people. And that's how it's engaging in creating that identity. And a picture's worth 1,000 words. Packaging can speak volumes with no words at all. Example, this scan wood instantly tells the story of the wood's history with their simple and effective packaging design. This appeals to global retail markets by telling a story without using words or any additional packaging. It's now visible and understandable across different markets and many languages, being relevant to the design. Your pack needs to work on its own and also as a great eye-catching design, understanding how it's displayed. This again to this retail-ready packaging, using how can you use your packaging to stand out on very busy consumer shelves or retail shelves. So that's a very brief look at some of the tools of packaging that hopefully are relevant in one way or another to our projects. And now I'm going to hand over to Vanessa to talk about this year's briefs, the 2025 briefs 1, 2, and 3.
Great, thanks so much, Bill. Yeah, so I think we're at the point in the lecture where we've hopefully given you some inspiration of what you're going to need to be thinking about and what are the tools and the aspects that you think of when it comes specifically to packaging design and communication on your packaging design. So yeah, let me take you first through just some considerations that you'll need to think about for whichever brief you're going to select. So when you come to selecting your brief and your project, select a pack where you can showcase your good idea. So hopefully you're going to look at the brief, see what the challenge is, come up with a big idea, a good idea, something to meet the challenge that we put forward in the brief, and then make sure that you select a pack where you can really showcase what that idea is all about. And because you graphic design students, the judges are really going to be looking at how you use design to communicate the packaging's function. If you were a food science student or a packaging technology student, you'd have to tell us all about the material you've chosen, the plastic science behind it, the paper science. But here we're going to look at how you're communicating the benefits to the consumer of your pack. And the last bullet point there was choose something that will appeal and will meet kind of stand out on shelf. Stand out is a good idea compared to all, because remember, when we receive entries for one brief, we may have 60 different entries. It's just like 60 different packs competing on shelf. So you've got to have that standout appeal. Thanks, Bill. Gary, on the next slide was just an example for you of showcasing and making your features stand out. And there's a little easy open tab on a juice carton where it really needs to communicate. What's interesting about that, it's got an easy pull ring tab where you don't have to stick a fork in or a knife into the opening to open your juice box. So, but make sure you communicate. It's not the clearest picture, but there's some little words that go around that and encourage the consumer to know what they're looking for. So make sure when you put in your pictures and your supporting information, take close-up photographs, zoom in and show the judges. You may think it's obvious, but to somebody who hasn't ever seen your pack or your concept, it's not always obvious. So we need you to point those features out. Thanks, Bill. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so coming to brief one, it's called accessible packaging. The challenge to you is to design packaging for any product and to communicate clearly your concepts for accessible packaging. And I'm going to, in a minute, go into what accessible packaging is. But an important thing in this brief is you can select any product or brand existing on the shelf and on the market, or you can come up with your own brand, own product, and then design the packaging for it to present your concepts for accessible packaging. What is accessible packaging? Sorry, before I go into that, Bill had just highlighted in the previous slide. Remember, from a graphic design perspective, it's all about how you communicate this, that your design makes it more accessible. What is accessible packaging? Let's jump into looking at that together. So it's a pack that's easily recognized and identified, easily understood, easily opened, easily reclosed, easily disposed by the consumer. So you can see what keeps coming through in these. We'll look at our next point coming up. Is it's convenient, efficient for everyone, but also for those with disabilities. So in that previous slide, the word easily kept coming up. Convenience, efficiency are part of that easily and easy to handle, easy to work with. And I think one of the key things here, and really whenever I get the chance to speak to students, I try and encourage you to just think about a day in your life. Take tomorrow, and I think this is particularly relevant for this project. From when you wake up tomorrow morning, if you just try and think about, be conscious of every pack you interact with. You're going to interact right from when you brush your teeth, first thing in the morning, whether you eat breakfast or have a coffee, whatever your early morning routine is, and right through the day. Just be mindful of what are each of those packs doing for you. How do they communicate to you? How do they work easily for you? How do they open? How do they reclose? How do you dispose of them? And already you'll have so much inspiration and different ideas that will come just out of looking at those packs. So yeah, legibility, how easy it is to read. Ergonomics, Bill showed you a slide earlier with it looked like a household bleach or something container, or household chemical with view strips, a handle that was easy to pour, easy to handle. Flexibility, how easily something moves in your hand, being intuitive. So this is all about, this project is very much about consumer insight. So if that's an area you're quite interested in, designing for consumer insight, this is going to be a great project for you to look at doing, and you'll really be able to apply your creativity in this one. And this consumer insight will make you need to consider who your market is. So we've said it can be accessible for anyone, or you can take a particular group of consumers, maybe the elderly. Bill's going to talk through some pictures that we've got of some specific examples of accessible packaging for people with challenges. I hand back to you, Bill.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, Vanessa. Yeah, as you say, the first sort of instinct is to say, think about people who have poor eyesight or arthritis or whatever. They need accessible packaging. But actually, it goes a lot wider than that. It's everybody. The knee-jerk response is to look at the people with disabilities, which, of course, there are many examples, and you may well choose one for your project. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But we're also saying to you that there's a thing called rat rage, that packaging that's difficult to get into, that's frustrating, that the way people interact with the product so they can't get to their product. And I've got a fun video here. Give us a chance to have a breather, and you can watch this video. If I can get it to play. There we go. So a bit of a silly video there, but just that rat rage is actually a very real thing. Okay, so that was just taking the mickey out of it. It's not only about those blister packs, but any sort of packaging that just doesn't open properly, that tears open, that doesn't easy to open and close. It's a lot of things that people don't pay much attention to. My own little pet hate. This is a HDH 8 kilogram carton that says it's dead easy. I mean, I've even Googled it, got a YouTube video about how easy this is to open. And I always struggle. It says just push the tab in and turn the lid. And it just doesn't turn the way it should do. And on the pack itself, even though on the top of the lid they've embossed the directions, it doesn't. Those two arrows, if you see, go in the opposite direction. Which one is which? Which way should it go? Where's this tab? The directions on the side of it. It's just someone hasn't thought it all the way through. And I find it incredibly frustrating, a little bit like the guy in the video. You get to despair. What I'm getting at is when we're looking at this accessible packaging project, we're encouraging you to draw attention to exactly what it's all about, to use a creative way of drawing attention to what this feature is that you're talking about. And Vanessa mentioned in hers to zoom in. Remember that when your real life pack, the feature that you're talking about might be relatively small in that hierarchy. Remember my witch's hat, you're wanting your branding, you don't want it to overpower all your branding, but you're wanting in your presentation to us in part of this project, show the feature, highlight what that feature is, let people understand exactly what it is, because it's unlikely that your pack is going to look like this, that it's all about the Easy Open. What's the brand? What's the product inside? We're wanting all of that. Packaging must still be packaging, but we're wanting to show how do you integrate the Easy Open or the easy accessibility or the features that you've put into this packaging. How have you integrated them into it? So it's this sort of thing, is to show the opening action a little bit, feature it in your entry, on your entry form. But of course, we're wanting to see the whole pack, how you see it functioning together. And then the other thing is about this technology. We're not asking you to be technical people. You don't need to actually solve the problem of how to make that tear strip work. What we want you to do is to stay. Wouldn't it be great if all you had to do was to pull this thing and it would open up easily? I mean, here's another example. Wouldn't it just be great if you just had a little patch like that? You just push the button and it opens the pack. Wouldn't it be great? Now, how this technology works, let me tell you, I've done a bit of research into this, and it's incredibly technically advanced of how to do this. But someone somewhere said, wouldn't it be great if there was just a little bubble in that heat seal and I went like that and it would pop open? And then you know what? Someone went and solved it. But it needed that vision in the first place. So we're looking for these ideas. If you have ideas along this line, don't get vexed about, well, how am I going to make it work? Show us the good idea. That's going to give you what we are asking you to be, is to be this visionary about packaging. And of course, tamper resistance can also be a bit of it. How simple is it? There's a shrink film around the top of the pack, and it can be done with a special locking device on the plastic. How easy is it to open? And how simple is it? That's in terms of how that cap, how that screw top works. As I say, you don't need to solve the technology. It's just say, wouldn't it be better if it was a bigger pack that you didn't have to split off the excuse me, the shrink film off it to make it even more difficult, because getting that shrink film off can be a frustration in itself. So your idea might hopefully certainly might have a practical idea or feasible or resonate with the consumer. It doesn't have to be completely off the wall. A real life example that Vanessa and I came across last year was in the main Gold Pack Awards. Was this bleach bottle was a part of the ShopRite Checkers entry, I think it was, Vanessa, if I remember correctly, where they had put in a lot of features into the pack, not only a child lock feature on the cap, but it was actually also quite easy to operate. And they had braille around the top of the pack as well, identifying this as a bleach bottle. Had a child safety cap, it had the braille warning, and then of course they also won some accolades because of their recycled material used in a bleach bottle, which was also a bit groundbreaking. We're talking about accessible packaging. How do you use stuff? Your hamburgers come in a carton, and then they're normally in some sort of a pouch or sleeve that you can hold the burger in this little packet. What if the carton and the packet became one, which is this conceptual pack from McDonald's? And so it's about purchase, it's about opening, it's about the way you use it, but also it's about the way you dispose of it. And these sort of graphics that are existing on packaging all around the world and are being used more and more and more as we are understanding and being worried about a sustainable packaging and a sustainable future for us all. But how meaningful are they? We put these, the scientists, the EPR regulators amongst us, we say, yes, we need this, but they're not really interfacing with the consumer, wanting to tell the consumer on the pack itself, what do you do with it? How understandable are they? Or have we gone all the way? That's why we're looking for these ideas, the visions of how do we make our packaging more accessible throughout the supply chain at all levels of it. Some work has been done. This work has been done by Unilever when they look at all their products. And they've identified, this is just taking one of them, and to say on their products, this is the information that they have, and they produced a leaflet. My question is, why is this information not on the packaging? Should we not be finding ways of communicating in this sort of a way on each of the packs about what these packs are? Producing a leaflet is one thing, but getting it into the consumer's hands, this is where we need a creative, innovative and special ways of communicating it on pack. And what better way to do it than to ask some clever graphic design students to come up with ideas. And there are lots of these. These are all the ideas that I've been able to find by just going on the internet and looking around of where these ideas that they exist. This is about medicinal packaging, how to dispose of medicinal packaging. So the information is there. The next step is to get it onto the packaging. And then we're saying we in this transition, this is happening. This accessible packaging is growing and growing and growing and becoming more and more important. And we're saying to you, the challenge to you as a graphic design student is take it to the next step. Show us how we do this on pack. Right, Vanessa, so we go on to brief 2.
Yeah, perfect. So brief 2 is single serve packaging. So this is really packaging that'll come in that'll deliver the product that you choose in a single serve format. So it might be a food, beverage, or single-use item, but the key is that it's also must be normally available in packs containing multiple servings of the same product. So examples I can just bring to mind right now, Bill showed you earlier the sugar pack. You saw a couple of different sugar packs. So you saw right from a stick pack of 1 teaspoon of sugar in a stick pack to that big Ziploc bag that had, I think, 6 cups of sugar in it when I was reading that pack. So that's a single serve. It could also be a little sachet of an energy drink versus a big can of energy drink, looking at beverages or a shot. I've seen sometimes those. You can get, a little shot in a shot pack size versus a bottle of the liquor. But it goes right into things like Panado, Strepsils. If you walk through a Dis-Chem, you can buy that in a pack of 60, a pack of 30, or a pack of 1 or 2. And that same brand and the same sort of attributes of the product need to come across all elements. So that's what the 3 points at the bottom of this slide is saying, that your concept proposal needs to include that single serve pack. So that 1 lozenge of Strepsil, let's take that, a pack containing multiple units, so of all the units together of your product, And then what does it come in onto shelf and onto selling, the shipper or transit cart? And how do you get that single serve pack through the supply chain? You need to give some thought of that and how you keep the branding consistent across all those elements. Why do we have single servings of products? They give the opportunity to increase the product's penetration and engage consumers differently. So it might help people to sample that product, buy a smaller size. They can't afford the bigger size, so they get used to it through only having to buy that smaller size. That's also a way of opening up new opportunities to sell the product in new ways, make it a convenient pack. That was a useful example too that Bill showed of the Nescafe in a family pack size, a family morning pack, 12 spoons, 12 cups of Nescafe versus the big jar, or versus just a one spoon pack. It's a way to launch new products. Again, it makes it affordable, offer a product at a lower price point. As I said, if that's all you can afford, you might only buy your one Panado at a time. And also prevent wastage of products. And this is really all around food waste, of where product can go off once the pack's open. So it's much better from a food preservation point of view to have it in a smaller size pack. So if you take a FMCG product as your example that you're going to use and create packaging for, the key issues are going to be shelf presence, distribution, and keeping your branding. As I said earlier, that brand value or image needs to translate across all different, your single pack, your multi-pack, your shipper. It needs to be communicated well on all elements. Thanks, Bill. We can go to the next slide, I think. Okay, and it needs to communicate in store and in home. So create that shelf presence in store. So you might be looking, most single serve packs are going to be small because they're for that, that one portion of your product. So you're going to need to think about how do you still bring the brand's message to life in a small way. And then also make sure that it's convenient to open, convenient to use, convenient to store, not too flimsy and can get lost in the consumer's cupboard or fridge at home. Thanks, Bill. Okay, and as I said earlier, remember those three key things with all your projects. Select a pack or product where you can showcase what your big idea is. Use design to communicate the packaging's function and benefits. So highlight those features to the consumer, communicate that graphically, and choose something that has a good chance to stand out. So how can you be competitive? How can you have a unique edge? Thanks, Bill. We'll move on.
So Vanessa, this was just that example I threw in. I don't know if you had a chance to look at this one, where all it is showing how to feature. This maybe would be better in accessible packaging, but this easy open, how to create it, is to showing this as a part of your presentation. It goes to your previous slide about choosing something to showcase your idea and make sure you showcase it to the judges. Sorry, that was maybe a curved ball for Vanessa. That's why I jumped in here. Some examples of single serve packaging. Obviously, we know about these stick packs. In terms of coffee, this is like a hospitality pack you might find in a hotel or a B&B, but these packs are also available in retail outlets that you might buy a pack of a whole lot of Nescafe single-serve packs. It's a bit like I was talking to you about in West Africa, the sachets. There's the single-serve sachets of Nescafe in West Africa that are then sold 10 sachets in a pouch. They sold individually. They also sold 10 sachets in a pouch. As I say, these are more common in West Africa than the can of Nescafe. But it's all about single-serve convenience. Even condiments like tomato sauce and mayonnaise. This is a pack that's been launched through actually catering, but they sell it as a picnic pack and an office pack where you have single-serve condiments in a box and a dispenser. This is what we're talking about. Single packs, and also how does it get merchandised on shelf, or how does it get used in the home as a pack? And then you're talking about a shipper case. A classic example are these single-serve breakfast cereals that Kellogg's have many, many years ago. I know as a child I used to have these as well, and that's many years ago with single serves of Kellogg's breakfast cereals. But those have come a long way now. We have single serve on the go breakfast cereals where it's not just in a box, but it's actually in a consumer, a pack that you can consume from. You can pour your milk in there, you can eat from this cup, and you have your breakfast on the go for modern lifestyle. Also, single-serve packs. One of the best-selling biscuits in the world, Oreos. 2 cookies in a pack that you can put it in a lunchbox to take to work or to school or whatever. But then there's this carton that we're talking about that you can buy on the shelf, 18 packs, take it home, and then there's single serve inside. But this also, these here, bring it into a South African context, they'll sell 2 cookies in a Spaza store. An interesting one is dog treats. Instead of having a big pack, you've got a single-serve dog treat that you can put in your pocket when you take your dog for a walk or you're out in the country. You've got your single-serve dog treats. You can buy them singly, or you can buy, this is a particular display carton, but they also have them in multiple packs as well. So there's a wide range of things. Here's a cosmetic, single-serve in inverted commas, because it's single-use cosmetics, a pack that you use. There's the singles for convenience. Rather than buying a tub, you buy a whole lot of little sachets. You're not messing around with a tub. You've got these very convenient sachets you can work. In a hardware context, there are many, many examples. I just happen to have this one because I managed to glue my fingers together recently by buying super glue in these little tubes. And the idea there is, rather than have one tube that makes a big mess, you use up your super glue in one hit and throw it away. You're not left with a drawer full of tubes of glue that are sealing, drying out, whatever. It's one-use super glue. I thought, I wish I had that before I glued my fingers together with a big messy tube. There's another one. A lot of these come from my own cupboard. Activator D is a pool chemical that I use. It's single use, believe it or not. Once a month you put in Activator D, but the ingredients, you have a powder and you have the liquid that you pour in together. You can't mix them together beforehand. You pour them into the pool in one go. But wow, this is crude packaging. 2 packs banded together with, by the way, a label that you can't get off, so I can't recycle those bottles because I can't get that label off. And those caps are terrible. When you open them, it spills. So here's a product that I came across and said, I'd love to redesign this as a single-use pack with much more convenience. The point I'm making here is I found examples that affect me in my life. And Vanessa made this point earlier. Think of your own day. Think of what you interact with packaging during the day. What would make your life easier? If you had a single serve of any particular product, how would you want it presented to you? That's a great clue that Vanessa had given you. So these examples that I've found came out of my life. Okay, Vanessa, we're on to brief 3.
Great, fantastic. So the last brief that you could select is quick service restaurant or takeaway packaging. And we'll go into what that's all about. So design the packaging for a quick service restaurant to use for home delivery, drive-through, or e-commerce sales. So that would be like an Uber Eats, an app type, or Mr. Delivery, where you order off an app. Your proposed pack design should package various food and beverage products conveniently together whilst enhancing and portraying the quick service restaurant's brand and image creatively. Okay, so really you should know a lot of quick service restaurants that you visit, or takeout restaurants. Again, here's another lovely example to encourage you over the next few days to go and get some takeaway food. Go and see what it is, your favorite brand, whether it's Nando's, Burger King, McDonald's, Fisherways. There's so many you could choose from, but what is it? What makes that food easy to eat? What makes it exciting to look at? We had in our Industry Gold Pack Awards an entry last year from a company in Cape Town called Zuni Burgers. And if you look at Zuni Burgers on their Instagram, actually it's all about the packaging and consuming from the packaging experience, the way they wrap their burgers, put them into a little carton pack with a tear strip, similar to the example Bill showed you earlier, an accessible packaging with, I think it was a McDonald's burger. But so it's an easy way of sort of putting all that food and beverage together and for the consumer to consume it. But it's also about how you get it to where you're going to eat that product. Sorry, Bill. Yeah. So, and then coming back to our 3 key points: select a pack that'll showcase your big idea, use design to communicate. That's really what we're looking for from you guys, is your ability to use your design to best communicate and stand out. Again, highlight and show the features. Here we come back to that cap that I showed in the beginning. Highlight what's important, like what have you created, what have you done differently in that pack, and communicate it to the consumer. Thanks, Bill. Next one, I think.
So as Vanessa said, the quick service restaurants and takeaways, we call them quick service restaurants because when I did some work for Nando's, I got into a lot of trouble when I called them takeaways or fast foods. They don't like either of that. From that point of view, they like to be called quick service restaurants. So publicly we go QSRs, but between us, takeaways. But they're not all like this. They're not everybody selling their takeaway food in brown paper packets in plain things. There's been a lot of work. Nando's do a great job. McDonald's do a great job. There's a lot happening out there. But we know that there's more to be done, that there's more interesting stuff. There's more engaging ways to communicate this. As I say, Nando's constantly trying to be cutting edge. But there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. When we start to look at experiences around the world and ideas and visions, and remember what I was talking about before, we're looking for this vision. So you don't need to solve the technology, but perhaps you can come and, wouldn't it be great if the pack came in an easy handle and with a spoon that held it, a spoon and a fork that held it together? That's what's happening there. The multi-carton, multi-component packaging. It's practical and innovative for serving meals in multiple components, ensuring each item, such as the sauces, the sides, the desserts, they're separate and fresh during the transit. Particularly useful for combo meals and dishes with different textures and flavors. By keeping everything organized and intact, you're sort of trying to offer a restaurant-like experience at your customer's doorstep or in their home. So, you know, there are other alternatives for going there. But at the same time, we need to consider the brand values and your target market. You know, the who's selling what to whom idea. What does your brand stand for? Who's your target market? Are they natural ingredients? You should focus on natural colors, etc. So don't forget the branding of the product as well. And also, we're trying to make a connection with the audience all the time. You're trying to, if you understand who your target market is, you have that insight into them, you can make a connection with them. That's also the other special thing that I think you can do. We don't all have to be the Nando's to be irreverent. There's some very serious quick service restaurants out there. How do you make a connection with them? And perhaps it might be seasonal. Maybe you just link into, here's a Halloween example, but there could be times of the year that your takeout packaging can actually link into the consumer's attitudes and wants at the time. We saw a little bit of it with the World Cup soccer, but maybe there's more. The graphic potential of this packaging is phenomenal. If you just take the boring old pizza box, there's so much that can be done with it. And our belief in looking at the projects for this year, we believe it's underused category and could be a lot of fun for you to play with. So hopefully you enjoy, and that's what it's about. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our 3 projects for Student Gold Pack 2025. Vanessa and I are both available. You can find our links on the website. To the lecturers, you know how to contact us. We can be more when issues arise. We expect the students to challenge us, to challenge the lecturers, to say, but why can't I do it this way? Come to us, talk to us. We expect to be challenged, and we expect to see some really creative stuff. And I think the real message that Vanessa and I want to give you is that we want you to enjoy what this is all about. We're wanting you to experience what packaging is all about. And most of all, we want you to understand that what you put into it is what you're going to get out. So although that was about recycling, it's a nice little calmer story that we firmly believe in. That if you get involved in the projects, you put your effort into it, you engage with, you really try and see what you can do with these ideas, do a little bit of research, spend some time up front thinking about what your project should be about, what your big idea is. We are convinced you're going to have a great time doing it, and you may end up having the packaging bug bite you, which is what we are hoping for.